It's another beautiful day for baseball in Los Angeles. And baseball podcast. Josh Schaefer and Blake Harris cover everything Dodgers right here on Inside the Ravine.
The postseason is officially underway. Our heart rates are higher than they've been in about 12 months, and the Dodgers lead the Padres 1-0 in the NLDS. I guess this is episode 11 / quickie, Josh. I don't know what we want to call these, but we have a brand new episode of Inside the Ravine because we have Game 1 to talk about. Josh, the game ended about 10-15 minutes ago. How are we doing over there? Is your blood pressure down?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the game ended in the 6th inning, to be completely honest with you. Once Evan Phillips kind of got out of that, I was sitting forward for the rest of the game. Yeah, I mean, I felt like looking back at the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, it seemed like that was pretty much it, was the 6th inning. The Padres got runners on here and there, but for the most part, the Dodgers bullpen really shut it down. I thought that the bullpen looked pretty good outside of just the little hiccup there from Phillips, and doing okay now. But I mean, this is kind of what we expected, I think, from game 1. I remember on the show the other day, didn't I say that the Dodgers were going to be up big and then the Padres might make it interesting later, and then that's how the game was going to end, and that's kind of what we get. And like I said, I had an event tonight, so I did not get to watch the first couple innings when the Dodgers were up 5-0. Listened in the car to the Padres comeback, and then got to see the scoreless kind of final 3-4 innings of this one. So good game. Not the best for the Dodgers, and they still came away with a win.
Yeah, this was a strange game because the offense started out, insanely hot. I think they scored 5 runs in the first 3 innings. Mike Clevinger was pulled, after 2 2/3 innings, I believe. And after that, I believe, Josh, the offense did not record a base hit against the Padres bullpen. So whenever they brought in a reliever with 2 outs in the 3rd inning, or it was 1 out, the Dodgers didn't have any hits. I think they drew 2 walks, I want to say, but after the offense was looking unstoppable early on, they just went ice cold. So we're going to break that down. We're going to break everything down from the game. But before we do that, you guys can listen to Inside the Ravine wherever you guys get your podcasts. You can find us on the Odyssey app because this show is brought to you by Odyssey Sports. We're also on Spotify. We're also on Apple Podcasts. And you guys can also follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Inside the Ravine. So Josh, let's start at the very beginning. Let's start with the Dodgers and Trey Turner. Now, this was a guy that we've talked about in the previous episodes because Trey Turner was awful for the Dodgers last postseason. There's no easy way to put it. He was horrible for the Dodgers. I think he hit just below 200. He was right around the Mendoza line, and he struggled, and he looked lost at the plate. Well, his first at-bat, he hits a home run, immediately puts the Dodgers in the lead. Later in the game, hits a double, and then later in the game, literally falls just maybe feet shy of hitting his second home run. So the Dodgers offense looked great early on, but my biggest takeaway is Trey Turner because you could not have asked for a better 2022 postseason debut than the one that we got from him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is a player that the Dodgers need to be hot in October and beyond, because last year he just wasn't quite there, and obviously game 1 of the NLDS, and he was fantastic. He was 2 for 4, obviously had the home run, scored twice. And even the 2 at-bats where he came to the plate and didn't get a hit or didn't get on base, he still had some great at-bats. And I think that's even bigger when you look at what Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman did tonight, which was go a combined 0 for 7, and they each had a strikeout and had some pretty poor ABs. So when you look at the top 3 in the order, and Will Smith had a good night too, 2 for 4, couple of runs scored, and an RBI. So he had a good night as well. So when you look at the top 4 and you see 2 guys combined for 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 RBIs, and obviously the home run from Trey Turner, and then you look at the other 2, 0 for 7, 2 strikeouts. Obviously not the best from the top 4 combined, but 2 really good days from Turner and Smith, while 2 of the others were lacking quite a bit. And again, it was just one game, but that's a takeaway, is you need players like Trey Turner to be hot, especially when guys like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are not.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they both went a combined 0 for 7, and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, I think Mookie had one pitch that he fouled off that I think was almost a grand slam. He was up with the bases loaded, but those 2 guys had awful at-bats the entire game, so they looked bad. But yeah, Trey Turner coming up huge, and like you said, Will Smith was huge as well. I think he had 2 doubles, drove in a couple runs, so had it not been for Trey Turner and Will Smith, who knows where the Dodgers offense is in this game. Maybe they lose. But Josh, so a lot of good happened in those first 3 innings. Like I mentioned, 5 runs, 6 hits. But once they pulled Mike Clevinger out, who was struggling big time, the Padres turned to the bullpen, and the Dodgers had absolutely no answer for them. Like I said, they were hitless over those final 6 innings, only drew 2 walks. So yeah, it's great that they won 5-3. It's great the offense scored 5 runs. You'll take 5. I mean, if you score 5 runs, you'll win a majority of your games. But how concerned are you with the fact that the Dodgers finished the game going, I'm guessing, 0 for 18, 0 for 19 against all these guys?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a hit after Clevenger was pulled after 2 2/3. So, I mean, you look at the bullpen for the Padres, and Steven Wilson was efficient. Pierce Johnson and Tim Hill were both good. And, you know, our 2 players that in the past have not had very much success against the Dodgers. And then Nick Martinez was a workhorse for the Padres this year. I mean, he made a ton of appearances. He logged over 100 innings for the Padres. And he came in and had 1 inning and was clean and struck out 2 batters too. So I think the Padres bullpen they really needed to rely on both Wilson and Johnson. Hill and Martinez didn't throw very many pitches. I think they combined for 19 total pitches. 13 of the 19 were strikes as well, and they had 3 strikeouts between the 2 of them in just 2 innings. But Wilson and Johnson are guys that we probably are not going to see in game 2 because of the fact that they both needed to go longer than an inning. They both threw more than 24 pitches. So they were really effective, and the Dodgers, after Clevenger was pulled, just didn't really have an answer for it. And I don't really know what that reason might be, whether they were too aggressive at the plate, not aggressive enough at the plate. But it just wasn't there later in the game. Hits weren't falling, but there were still guys that were having some really good ABs.
Yeah. I mean, had the Dodgers not scored those 5 runs early on, and they would have closed the game going 0 for 19 or whatever it was, and they were to lose the game, that's all everyone would be talking about. Everyone would be talking about the Dodgers just struggling to hit at the end. Like I said, 6 innings or however much it was, they went without a hit, only 2 walks. So luckily, again, they added enough runs early on. They could have tacked on even more. You know, in the 2nd and 3rd inning, they stranded a lot of guys. So again, you don't want to be too negative when you win a game 5-3, but it is a bit concerning, again, because you don't want to see a team like the Dodgers be held hitless over the final 6 innings in a playoff game. But I'm just happy that Trey showed up. I'm happy that Will Smith showed up, and Gavin Lux had some good at-bats. Cody Bellinger had some decent at-bats putting the ball in play. So overall, what grade would you give the offense based on this performance?
I'd give it a 6. I think it was not as good as it should have been, especially after you see the first 3 innings of the game and you're thinking like, okay, they could run away with it. I got in the car tonight and I'm listening to the Dodgers, or I'm listening to Julio give up those 3 runs in the 5th inning. And I'm thinking, well, the Dodgers bats are going to come up, and, you know, Julio maybe going out a little earlier than we expected, and giving up a couple of runs, but the Dodgers bats have been hot tonight. And just for the rest of the game, it just wasn't there. So I'll give it a 5 or a 6, just because they were so good early. They were swinging at everything. They were putting the bat on the ball. Obviously, Turner had the home run, but the rest of the game, it wasn't there. So I'll give it a 6 for slightly above average, because we know what they're capable of. I don't know if I'm concerned at how the final 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 innings went, but I'm not really concerned, but it definitely should have been a lot better.
Yeah, so again, a win's a win. You'll take it. Only 2 more. We're going to flip things over to Julio now. He only won 5 innings, allowed 3 runs. Through the first 4 innings, I mean, he was in cruise control. I think he allowed only 1 base runner through those first 4 innings. And then the 5th inning, Josh, I don't know if you were home by the time this took place, but it was kind of just a really weird inning. I mean, Will Myers leads off with the home run. Cronenworth hits a single. Ha-Sung Kim hits a double that Trey Thompson dove for and missed. I don't know if you saw the home run from Will Myers. If Trey Thompson just gets like 4 or 5 inches of a vertical leap, he probably catches it, but I don't think the dude jumped more than 2 inches. So
he jumped into the wall. So.
Yeah, but I need to see some guy like climb the fence. I need some Ichiro out there that's just climbing the wall and robbing it, getting half his body up there. And then he threw it home on a tag at the plate, just missed him. So an overall kind of rough inning, and yeah, just kind of weird from Julio because he was in cruise control, and this was the bottom of the Padres lineup that did all the damage. It wasn't guys like Soto, Machado. It was everyone at the bottom. So Overall, I mean, a solid outing from Julio. You'll take 5 innings, you'll take 3 runs, but a little concerning that in that 5th inning, he kind of just imploded and everything was kind of just collapsing at once.
Yeah, I mean, it had been months since he'd given up 3 runs in a game, let alone 3 runs in an inning. If you look at the other numbers and you see 5 hits, 5 innings, 4 hits, no walks, 6 Ks, I think you're thinking that Julio had a phenomenal day. But then you look at the 5th inning when he gives up the 3 earned. So it didn't look great. His ERA after one game is going to go up a little bit, but ultimately it's going up because of 1 inning. I think that there were like you said, there are a couple of plays where things didn't go his way. Obviously, Will Myers put a lot on that ball. It did just barely get out. But it not only was it a weird inning for Julio, it was a weird inning for Trey Thompson and left. There were a couple of defensive plays there for Trace that just didn't go his way. But you get one of those things to go a different direction, and it's a different inning for Julio. But also, the first 4 innings, not only were they great, but he got through Profar with ease. He got through Soto with ease. He got through Machado with ease. Like, he cut through the top of the order and Drury as well and made it look very, very easy. He struck out Brandon Drury twice. But then that 5th inning comes around and the pitches were a little bit sporadic. They were kind of going all over the place. The curveball was not as effective as it had been. And that's kind of where you see a little bit of the drop off. So ultimately it was a fine outing from Julio. I don't think there's much to be concerned about. I think that just the 5th inning was weird and did not go in his way.
Yeah, completely agree. So before we move on to the bullpen, Josh, I want to stay on Julio just for one quick second. And we might be implementing a new segment during this series called Dumbest Tweet of the Night. And I found this tweet, Josh. I don't know if you saw it, but I'm going to read it to you. This comes from a verified San Diego Padres person that's not, not just some random fan that I found. This is a verified person that has a pretty good gig in relation to San Diego sports and with the Padres. And Josh, let me read this to you because when I read this, I had to double and triple take to make sure that this wasn't just some sort of a meme or that he was just joking around. Really, the only good news here is that Dave Roberts wasted his best pitcher against the Padres on the biggest mismatch of the series. Imagine if this was happening and they still had Urias tomorrow. The Padres still have their best 3 starters coming up. So he's essentially saying that Dave wasted his best pitcher in game 1, because I guess in game 1, Josh, you're not supposed to throw your best pitcher. You're supposed to use the mismatch to your not advantage and throw your worst starter. I'm Ron Burgundy.
This sounds like an opportunity for the Dodgers to get ahead in the series. And also, I don't think it matters who the Dodgers are throwing, right? It matters of whether or not the Dodgers are hitting and who the Padres are throwing. And the Dodgers chased Clevenger after 2 2/3 innings. So I don't think that has anything to do with Dave Roberts and Julio Urias. What matters is the Dodgers scored 5 runs, 4 earned on Clevenger, and chased him after, before 3 full innings. That's not a waste of Julio. That's Julio coming out and throwing a couple of good. And then you look at his pitch count too, 79, all because of pretty much 1 inning too. I thought it was a fine game, and also it wasn't a total blowout. I think I'm curious to hear what people covering this or watching this from a Padres perspective think. But I think that even with the Dodgers up 4 or 5, I feel like it didn't really seem like it was that much of a blowout too, because of just the way that these teams have played against each other in the playoffs or from time to time in the last couple of years. But I don't know. I don't even really know what to make of that tweet. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think as a once glorious, now disgraced college football coach once said, you play to win the game.
A perfect way to describe that. My favorite thing is just how he ends the tweet saying the Padres still have their best 3 starters coming up. Is it the Dodgers aren't countering with the best left-handed pitcher of our generation who dominated this year and 2 starters that were on the All-Star team in 2022? So, yeah. If anything, the Dodgers, you could make the case, have the edge in all 4 of these matchups. So that was the dumb tweet of the night. We'll stay tuned to see if we find any more. But Josh, we'll wrap things up with the bullpen. They shut things down. They were fantastic. Evan Phillips, Alex Vesia, Bruce Dark-Ratterall, Chris Martin. Evan Phillips, things were a little interesting in the sixth inning, allowed the first two to reach base, but he got a crucial double play to end the inning, and that was the biggest play of the game in my opinion, because Will Myers is up, he's representing the go-ahead run, you have the tying run on first base, Evan Phillips didn't have his best stuff, and he gets a massive double play that, like I said, in my opinion, is the biggest moment of the game.
Yeah, and by all means, after that moment, you play on for another 3 innings, right? But that really did, looking back on it, that was the game right there. That was it. Dodgers win game 1. Is the Padres finally threaten? Here's their opportunity, and the Dodgers get out of it with that big play. So not only was it a good recovery from Evan Phillips and a good defensive play by the Dodgers, but ultimately, I think it was a very, very well managed game by Dave Roberts too. I was just talking about this with my roommate not too long ago. After the game, it said, I thought it was a very well managed game by Dave Roberts, and you put Phillips in the 6th inning, and my first thought is like, man, he's been kind of putting out fires all season long. Like, is this the guy you want to come in right now? And then you see he's going through the lineup for a 3rd time against the big 3 in the Padres order, and you think, Yep, that's who you want coming into the game. It didn't go perfectly. It wasn't incredibly smooth, but he got out unscathed. And then after that, Vesio was good. Gratterall got one out, and then
On one pitch,
efficiency. And Chris Martin, very, he didn't blow you away in the 9th inning, but very clean and efficient, and he threw 11 pitches, and 8 of them were strikes. So a well-managed game, a clean day for the bullpen. By all means, they might win the game and kind of get overshadowed a little bit by the Padres bullpen, and that's totally fine because the Padres bullpen looked really good tonight. But the Dodgers bullpen, man, and after those 2 runners reached in the 6th inning, they were lights out, and that was big.
Yeah, this is one of those games where we really do need to appreciate Dave Roberts because he managed this bullpen to perfection tonight, taking Julio after 5. Like you said, bringing in Evan Phillips to face, I think it was Soto to start the inning. It was Soto, Machado, then Bell. So a huge move going to Evan Phillips. Vesio was excellent, like you mentioned. And then having him go 1 2/3, bringing in Bruce Gratterall, who, again, literally needed 1 pitch to record 1 out. And then Chris Martin, we were all thinking who's going to be getting the save opportunity in the 9th inning. It was Chris Martin. He did allow a base hit to Cronenworth, so the tying run did come up, but he shut things down. Josh, I think we set an over-under a couple weeks ago on how many pitchers we think are going to get or are going to record a save in October. I forget what we set it at. I want to say 4.5 was the line we put it at, and I think maybe we both took the over. So if we did, well, we already got 1 down and a few more options to go. So a fantastic showing. Josh, before we leave, I actually opened up the mailbag to our viewers, and we have a few questions. So do you want to do a quick rapid mailbag to shoot off some questions before we head out?
Yep, let's do it. We'll rapid fire them.
All right, our first question comes from my man, Bruce K. How do you guys think Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, and Andrew Heaney are going to be used through the rest of this series?
Well, Gonsolin is a guy that I think obviously is going to be at the front end of a game. I think May could even come out and be a firefighter and put out some bad situations later in games too. I thought that might be what we get tonight. So you never know. That's what I think it's going to be. I think see Tony at the front end and May come in and try to close the door, pull an Evan Phillips role.
Yeah, my guess is, Tony gets the start in Game 4, goes a couple innings. I think Heaney follows him, and I think at some point in Game 2 or 3, we see Dustin May come in for an inning or 2, but going to be interesting to see how they exactly deploy that. I am so down bad, 69. I think they've asked us a question before. They just said offense went cold, but probably shaking off some rust from their bye. Won the game without Mookie, Freddie, JT getting hot. But here's their question: is Trey Thompson a defensive liability in left field? Like I mentioned, that 1 inning was kind of a disaster. He could have made an attempt on the home run, had the diving play where he wasn't anywhere close to the ball, and then he didn't throw out the runner at home. So 3 plays again, and it didn't cost the Dodgers, but maybe one of those plays he's able to make. So, Josh, when you have a guy like Joey Gallo that's won the Gold Glove numerous times, do you potentially go to him? in left field now, or do you stick with Trace because he offers more upside with the bat?
Credit to my roommate and broadcaster and a Dodger fan, Braden. He said this before the game ended, and it was, do you play? I think I play Joey Gallo in left field tomorrow. And it's not a slight on Trace Thompson. It's, obviously Gallo has the high ceiling offensively, which we haven't seen a ton of, but he does have that high ceiling. But defensively, man, he's a guy that probably makes a better effort on the home run. I don't think he's going to catch it, but he makes a better effort. And the dude's got a good arm, and maybe that play at the plate goes a little bit different. So I say try it, I say try it and see what you get. You also get Blake Snell too, or you get Yu Darvish tomorrow, not Blake Snell. So you get Yu Darvish tomorrow, righty pitcher. I say go for it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are out on Joey Gallo, but the fact that he can hit a home run at any given time is going to be huge in the postseason, and he offers much more upside defensively. So like you said, there's a righty on the mound tomorrow. Maybe they go with Joey Gallo. I personally would, but, we'll just leave it at that. So Josh, that wraps up our mailbag. Again, if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask for future mailbags, or let us know your takeaways, or, how you're feeling following the game, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Inside the Ravine. I'm going to tweet following every game saying, now's the time. Hit us with your takeaways, hit us with your questions. But Josh, before you go, I actually was able to reel in a very special guest to share something with us before we leave for the night. So let's bring our special guest on.
Mad after
reality is that when you're playing against your daddy, you need to try to do something different. You have to try to do something different, Kevin. You can just continue having the same approach. Your dad know what you're going to do. You need to try something different. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I totally agree with Frank and Nara. So right. You have to do something different because, first of all, you're playing against one of the best offensively team in the whole baseball. And you are 5-15 against this guy. You got to try something different.
Hey, Pop.
All right, well, we appreciate David Ortiz for filling in 30 seconds of his busy schedule to get that in. But, yeah, Josh, what is it? You got to play better against your daddy? Is that what the quote was?
Yeah, the quote was, the reality is when you play against your daddy, you have to do something different. Quote, Big Papi. So,
all right.
Again, including the postseason, the Dodgers are 15-5 against the Padres this year. So we'll see what we get tomorrow. But the thing for the Dodgers is keep doing what you're doing. Keep getting hits, keep hitting Padres pitching, and hopefully the bullpen does well tomorrow behind Kershaw.
All right, so that wraps it up for this episode. The Dodgers win 5-3. They take Game 1 of the NLDS. Game 2 coming at you tomorrow or tonight, whenever you're listening to this podcast. 5:30 is first pitch, Josh, so 1 hour earlier. So make sure to set your alarm so you don't miss that, and you tune in at 6:30, and the Dodgers are up 3-0 in the fourth inning. So make sure to do that. All right.
Thank you. I was going to forget.
Make sure to follow Inside the Ravine again, wherever you guys get your podcasts, the Odyssey app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We are going to be having instant post-game reactions following every game. Hopefully we have many more of these, Josh, preferably exactly 11, because that means the Dodgers go undefeated on their way to a World Series title. But if you guys...
that would not even would that just be nice and cool. That would just be very convenient. So if they could make that happen... That would be great. Thank you, Dodgers.
It would really ease our stress levels. So make sure to stay tuned for post-game episodes following every Dodgers game. Win or lose, preferably win, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, you guys can find us on social media at Inside the Ravine, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find Josh on Twitter at JoshSchaefer25. You can find me at Blake Harris TBLA. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. Dodgers lead the series 1-0. This is going to be a fun series. This is going to be a fun postseason series, and we hope you guys follow along with us here at Inside the Ravine. For Josh Schaefer, this has been Blake Harris. Thank you guys so much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your week wherever you may be.